If you're in church for the first time in a long time on a Wednesday night, you'll know that when I've been speaking on Wednesdays, we're continuing our journey through the book of 1 Samuel, and we're going to be taking a look at chapter 27 tonight. And it's a really great chapter, really. It's a fun chapter, to be honest with you. And really, after tonight, as we look through 27, it means that we've only got 4 chapters left, which is wild to me. And this will officially be the longest series that I've ever done. It will have lasted well over 1 year, which is insane to me, but that is the truth. Now, remember back, chapter 26. Let me refresh you so you kind of remember where. It's been a couple weeks since we were in the book of 1 Samuel, but in chapter 26, we talked about the importance of breaking tendency and breaking routine in your life. And it's important sometimes to just do things differently than how you normally do things. Because the enemy, if we're not careful, he knows you get so comfortable in doing what you do that he can beat you to the spot. And so you got to break normalcy and break tendencies sometimes. For instance, right, we know David, for as long as we can remember at this point in his story, he has been barely escaping the attacks of Saul, always just one step ahead of Saul, always on the run, always playing defense, so to speak. But in chapter 26, David, he breaks tendency and he goes on the offensive. He brings the fight to his enemy instead of his enemy bringing the fight to him. And we talked about 3 things are necessary last week whenever you're going to go on the attack, when you're going to go on the offensive, and it's this, that it requires bold steps of faith. We said that going on the offensive requires you to choose integrity over compromise. That's a good one. And it also means if you're going to go on the offensive, it means that you've got to trust God's timing and God's justice in the matter. When it would be easier and oh so pleasurable to take matters into your own hands, you got to trust God's timing and God's justice. And so after what seemed to be like this reconciliation between King Saul and David, here's how the very last verse of the chapter, this is how we finished chapter 26, and it said this: Then Saul said to David, "May you be blessed, David, my son. You will do great things and surely triumph." So David went on his way, and Saul returned home. Now, I don't know where David's mindset is in all of this, because we know the history between the two, but it seems like there had been some amends made. It seems like things were trending in the right direction. But look at how chapter 27 and verse 1, how we start tonight. But David thought to himself, "One of these days I will be destroyed by the hand of Saul. So the best thing I can do is to escape to the land of the Philistines. Then Saul will give up searching for me anywhere in Israel, and I will slip out of his hand." Now let's pause for a second. Let's spend a few moments on this very first verse, because there's so much in this verse that we could really preach the entire sermon today around one verse. Immediately we see right off the bat, David is having this internal dialogue with himself, which actually oftentimes I think is a really good thing. I think every once in a while, you got to talk to yourself. Every once in a while, it's okay. If I told you how often I found myself kind of grabbing myself by the collar and just talking sense into myself, Brad, I know how you want to respond right now, but if you do that, that's not the wise thing to do. Every once in a while, you kind of got to grab yourself by your own collar and say, hey, refocus. What are you doing? Come on now. That's not the way to think about this. That's not the way to behave. But here's the thing. If you're going to grab yourself by your own collar and you're going to talk to yourself, you got to tell yourself the right stuff. Talking to yourself doesn't help if you're telling yourself the wrong things. If you're going to tell yourself the wrong things, you might as well not have a come to Jesus meeting with yourself. And this is where we find ourselves. This is where David finds himself with this internal dialogue, talking to himself that man, one day Saul's going to get the best of me. I'm going to die at the hand of Saul. And as I read this, I began to ask myself this question and try to figure out where this is coming from. Like, David, what would lead you to believe that one day Saul is going to actually take your life? Like, how did you get to this line of thinking? And my mind goes to, I don't know how you get there. I know Saul has been attempting, but time and time again, remember, you've already seen God deliver you out of the hand of Saul over 20 times, David. Instead of seeing the glass half empty, what would happen if you change your perspective? Now, I know it's been a long time. I know it's been a season of running, but David, if I am looking at your story and I'm to follow the tea leaves of everything in your life, everything from an outsider looking in points to God taking care of you. Everything that I read, I see circumstances, I see trials and tribulation, but I always see victory on the other side of it. David, if I'm following the tea leaves of your life, I'm remembering how he kept you from the teeth of the lion. And I'm remembering how he kept you from the claws of the bear. If I'm following the tea leaves and connecting the dots of your life, I remember how he kept you from the spear of Goliath. If I'm looking at your life, David, have you already forgotten how often your God has spared you in times of trouble? What in the world would lead you to this line of thinking if you were to connect the dots of what God has done in your past? Everything, David, in your life points to the hand of God being on your life. David, when everything points to victory, how did you allow your mind to go to defeat? Isn't that true for you and I? I know life's not easy. I know we struggle. I know we have, but you're here. You made it. You're still standing. I know you got to deal with hell tomorrow, but you made it to the house of God tonight when you didn't know how you were going to get here, when you didn't know if you were going to have the strength to get here. When everything points to victory, how does your mind go to defeat, David? And I started thinking about it. Really, it was frustrating me. I was getting mad at David. Like, David, bro, you're a man after God's own heart. How did you miss this? And the first thing I thought, well, maybe he was just scared. Maybe he was fearful. Maybe David had got to the point in his life where he was like, you know what? It's been 20 plus times. Saul is just too determined and his army is too mighty. And I'm not gonna be able to escape him all the time. Maybe it just struck fear into the heart of David. And again, though, as I spent some time thinking about it, and really looking at the fact patterns of David's life, the dots don't connect to him being scared either. Again, you think of the fact that he defeated a lion and he defeated a bear. And he, as a young boy, when all the other trained warriors in the land didn't have the courage to go face Goliath, this young teenage boy who was anointed by God rose to the challenge and took on the giant of the land. So when I'm thinking, well, was it fear? Again, I look back at the pattern and the dots of his life, and I'm like, man, you know what? It couldn't have been fear. This was not a fear. This would not have made sense. Nothing points to fear. It couldn't have been fear. And then I had another thought cross my mind, and I can't tell you for sure that this is what it is, but if I had to guess, my guess is that it wasn't fear that led him to this line of thinking that skewed this process in his mind. If I had to guess, my guess would be that it wasn't fear, rather it was fatigue. Now stay with me for a moment. Over 20 murder attempts on his life in a span of what scholars believe could have lasted anywhere from 7 to 13 years. He's on the run trying to escape the king of the land. It's been a long, drawn-out process on the run, year after year after year. I don't think David was afraid. I think David was fatigued. I think David was tired. I think he was worn down, and I just come to preach to somebody on a Wednesday night that I believe that there's somebody in the room tonight that can testify that when the enemy knows that he can't take you out, he'll try to wear you down. That when he's not been able to kill you time and time and time again, he will be so persistent that he will try to wear you down where he's got you in a position that says, you know what, I don't even know that this is worth the fight anymore. I'd rather roll over and die than to stand up and fight. This has been too long. How much can a person take? How long should somebody walk through something like this? If he can't take you out, he's gonna try to wear you down. There comes a point, right, when even the strong get tired. There comes a point when even the anointed get anxious and when even a giant killer gets weary. 7 to 13 years time and time. I'm tired of running. God, you promised me the plans and the purposes of my life. When Samuel anointed me at my father's house, I'm remembering and I know what you said, but it ain't come to pass. In fact, since that moment, all hell has broken loose in my life. And it's been nothing but trial after trial, and I don't know how much more I can take day after day. Week after week, month after month, year after year, just chipping away at your faith. Trying to wear you down, trying to get the best of you. He may not be able to take you out, but he's doing his best to wear you down. Piece by piece, trial by trial, circumstance by circumstance, bad news after bad news. And after 7 years, after 13 years, what used to be strong faith has turned into weak faith. What used to be so vibrant and passionate is now a little lackadaisical, and I'm just kind of made it tonight. I don't even have any fight in me. I can't defend myself one more time. David, the man after God's own heart, he didn't lose his anointing. He lost his focus. He wasn't any less anointed in this season. The enemy had just been distracting him. And David allowed the attacks of the enemy to let him lose his focus on what really mattered most. And David allowed his thinking to get to a place that said, even though everything in my history says that I'm going to be victorious the next time, I think surely there's going to be a day when Saul defeats me. I don't think I can do it anymore. Friend, your spiritual enemy, he may not be able to kill you, but he will try his best to wear you down. He will try his best, listen, to get you so tired, so drained, and so discouraged that you will start making life-altering decisions in a season of fatigue instead of a season of faith. How many of you know you don't make wise decisions when you're tired? You don't make good choices when you're worn out. In fact, this is probably too much information, but I'm going to tell you anyways. My sweet wife knows that when we're in bed, sleeping, We're not going to that too much information. When I lay down, baby girl, don't you hit me with some big, like, we got to make a decision right now. I'm no good right now. I'm doing my best to just stay awake and listen to what you're telling me. Right? It takes everything. When I'm tired, it's not the time for me to be making life-altering decisions, because when I'm fatigued, nothing works right. When I'm worn out, I'll make a decision because I don't even care enough in the moment. I can't even make one more decision. I've been making decisions all day today. I can't make one more. And this is where he's so tired that he's allowed his fatigue to make him lose his focus on the things that matters most. And I just want to encourage, don't let your fatigue fool you. The devil knows that he doesn't have to fight you with the sword. He knows that he doesn't have to fight you with the sword if he can get you to just give up and quit. He doesn't need to fight you with the sword if he can wear you down to the place that you have no fight left. Try to get you wore out, stressed out, freaked out, everything out. Whatever words you put in there, no more. This is the goal of your spiritual enemy. David, you've got to understand that a tired faith will sabotage a strong future. Don't let your fatigue fool you. Don't make decisions when you're exhausted, David. And so what happens next? David, verse 2 says, we spent all that time on verse 1. Oh, Jesus, take the wheel. We need 3 services on Wednesday night if we just walk through all. So David and 600 men, they left and they went over to Achish, son of Maok, king of Gath. Watch what verse 3 says. David and his men settled in Gath with Achish. They settled, watch, this is what's important. They settled in enemy territory. They settled in the land of the Philistines. David was so tired of running from Saul that he chose to go to enemy territory and put up shop. That I'm going to go to the land of the people that hate me, that have nothing good for me, but I'm so worn out and beat down from what I've been going through that this seems better to me to go to the enemy territory, and I'm going to settle down right here. Wow, you got to be in a bad place when you're so tired of hiding from Saul that living in the land of the Philistines seems better to you. David, don't let your fatigue fool you, friend. David, your fatigue is getting the best of you. You're not in the right frame of mind to be making decisions like this. It's already, you're making some dumb choices, David, because you're tired. David, when you settle in enemy territory, David, when you settle in enemy territory, don't be surprised when you start acting like your enemy. David, when you make a conscious decision to go live with the people that you know you have no business being with, don't be surprised when you start acting like them, talking like them, treating your family like they treat their family. I don't know who needs to receive that word tonight. Friend, when you know you find yourself in places that you have no business being in, don't be surprised when you start behaving like those people. Don't let it shock you when your attitude changes. When you get around people who don't have anything good to say about a church, Don't be surprised. Well, my goodness. When you get around people that all they do is allow filth to be spewed from their mouth. Don't be surprised when filth is being spewed from your mouth. David, don't be shocked when you camp out in the enemy's territory, when you start behaving like the enemy, when you start doing the very thing that you used to despise, David. You know what's interesting? I don't think David saw it in the moment. It's easy for us, as hindsight is 2020, but David, you can't outrun what God is asking you to walk through. David, you're trying to escape. I know I'm not pretending to tell you that this season is a great season. I don't know the ins and outs of what you're walking through, sir. I don't know the details of your circumstance, but I'm telling you, you can't outrun something that you need to walk through. If there's some things, David, that the Lord is teaching you before you sit on the throne, you're going to do yourself a disservice if you try to cut corners and not walk through what God is asking you to walk through. God didn't call you, David, to hide in Gath. He didn't bring you this far to live in disguise with your enemy. He brought you this far to show you that you don't need to run, David. You need to stand. You don't need to take off and run just the chapter before that you've already forgotten. Last chapter, you went on the offense, taking the fight to the enemy, and here you are. You're already defeated because you're tired. The enemy has worn you down. He spent 7 to 13 years chipping away at this strong, vibrant faith. And now you have settled in the land of the Philistines. Look what verse 7 says. And David lived in Philistine territory for a year and 4 months. David didn't just camp out for a night. David made a home. David had to get 2 6-month leases. He had to put down a down payment, deposit. And I wonder if what we just talked about, I just wonder what happens when David finds himself living in a place that he has no business living. David's fatigue fooled him, I promise you, and we're going to see it play out. He made a major decision when he was worn down in his faith, and this decision would set in motion a domino effect of bad decisions after bad decision after bad decision. And he thought that he was escaping the attacks of Saul, but the sad part is he ran right into the land of the Philistines, and he did it on purpose. And when he settled in enemy territory, wouldn't you know, he started compromising. When he settled in enemy territory, what does he do? He starts lying now. Go read the rest of the chapter. We're not going to have time to get into all of it. I see how much time I have left, and it ain't enough. But what you're going to read is his behavior changed. When he was living in a place that he had no business living in, the man that he was, things began to change. He started lying and compromising, and now he's actually leading a double life. He started acting just like his enemies. And I don't know who this word is for on this Wednesday night, but I have a feeling it's for somebody in the house who feels worn out and discouraged. been battling a long time. What you're fighting right now seems like it's lasted a decade. You started strong. Your faith was vibrant. Passion. You were moved easily by the presence of God. But week after week, the enemy has been chipping away at that vibrant faith, and you may not have even noticed it until now. That as you look back over the course of the last, I don't know, however long it is that you've been in this struggle, and you realize, man, I didn't realize it, but I am beat down. I didn't know it, but my mindset has changed. I'm saying things that I used to never say. I'm thinking things that I used to never think. I started making some decisions in my fatigue, and it's leading me down a path that I don't want to go down this path any longer. Maybe, like David, you're telling yourself the wrong thing. Maybe you're saying something like, this is the season where I just settle in enemy territory instead of keep fighting. I just settle for an unhealthy, ungodly relationship because I just want to be in a relationship so bad. Anything would be better than being by myself. God, you see the prayer that I've been praying. And so I'll settle for less than your best for me, God. Because I'm just tired. Don't let your faith fade in this season. No longer will the enemy chip away at your faith. I'm on to your games, devil. I didn't see it in the moment, but I see it now, and I know what you've been trying to do. Because when you couldn't take me out, you tried to wear me down, and you almost had me. I almost quit. I almost gave up because I'm so tired of running, and I'm so tired of not getting the answer to what I've been praying for. But I'm not quitting tonight. We're going to go another round. I'm going to stand up one more time tonight. And you and I, we're going to go at it again, devil. Tonight's not the night when you get the best of me. Would you stand with me all across the room? I know it's been a long battle, friend. I know you're tired. But don't let the frustration of this season fatigue you. Here's what I believe. I believe in this season of your life. Maybe it's specific on this Wednesday night. My prayer for you is this, is that God is restoring strength to your life. When you feel like you didn't even have 1 ounce of strength to stand up, that there's something coming to you that you don't know where it came from, but there's some fight inside of you that's still left, and God's going to allow it to rise to the surface of your life. Strength is coming back to somebody who's lost some fight in their life tonight. Faith is not fading any longer. In fact, tonight, God is restoring a finishing faith. A faith that's going to go the distance. A mindset that says, listen, devil, you almost had me, but I'm reminded of the tea leaves of my life, and everything points back to victory. You're not going to get the best of me in this one because I've seen my God bring me out yesterday. I saw he brought me out 5 years ago. And if he did it then, he's going to do it again for me.